people my age and above, when they hear financial planning, they go, no, I don't want any financial planning, because they're so used to seeing a financial planner and having insurance shoved down their throats.
You don't have to be able to do everything for your clients. Diversification is not about doing everything for your clients. Diversification is about being able to service the needs of your client.
If you can't call on a property or anything in a time of need that you've invested in it, it's no longer an asset, it's a liability.
And this is where I always advocate a mix of investments in super and in your own name. People say insurance is a grudge purchase, right? No one really wants to pay for insurance.
Well, possibly, yeah.
But here's the thing.
G'day, Nick. How are you?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
I'm really glad to have you in studio today. Chance meeting at National Finance Brokers Day this year. Quick interview. Next minute, I'm following you around the country, talking to literally hundreds of brokers.
Yeah, we've slotted you guys into the sessions that we do for the brokers as an add value piece for what you guys do, which is obviously their clients that are looking for investment properties are able to come to you for the service that you provide, which is great.
Now, for the people that don't know the great Nick Harper, I might just hand it over to you and you can give us a bit of background about who you are, what your company does, and let our audience know.
So, hello, I'm Nick Harper. I'm the Managing Director and owner of the Fuzion Group of businesses. We are essentially a referral service for brokers. So we're an add value piece for them. That's insurance, financial planning, so wealth. We also do insurance. We then have a private lending business. So literally the stuff that brokers need that they can't do themselves, we do it for them. I'm a chef by trade originally. So going back many years ago, I've worked at pretty much every hotel that Perth's got, and that's where I learned to run a business. So about 15 years ago, I went into finance broking. Mainly residential mortgages to start with. Then I added commercial private lending. So my private lending business is quite large and has been for a while. Then we added insurance and most recently financial planning. So we've got a really large, diverse business, and most of our business that comes in is via the broker channel. So brokers refer their clients to us for insurance, they refer them to us for wealth advice, and they refer them to us for private lending.
Excellent, thanks for that. What I really appreciate about working with you is how well you actually know the industry and what lengths you go to help educate brokers how to extract the most out of their business. And one of the first things that you say, which is really cool and very interesting when you present, is, you ask the room, what do you guys do? And most of the people will say, look, I'm a mortgage broker.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's at that point that you say, yes, you are correct, but you're also a business owner.
First and foremost, you're a business owner.
Perfect. So Nick, as business owners, take us down the journey of your experience as a mortgage broker and how that's formed and helped you understand the nuances of the industry and led you to create this now B2B broker business that you have, allowing the brokers to plug in services like wealth and insurance and private lending. And obviously, after we've gone through that, if you could tell us a bit about the events business as well.
So, I realised really early on that just writing home loans wasn't going to provide great value. You had to provide other things to your clients to make them sticky clients so that they're not going anywhere else. Now, part of that is you don't have to be able to do everything for your clients. Like, diversification is not about doing everything for your clients. Diversification is about being able to service the needs of your client. And sometimes that's about referring out. So for me, for example, I don't do asset finance. We refer that out of our business. So we're still servicing our client, but we're not having to do it ourselves. And then you look at things like, the insurance business, for example. The insurance business for us, brokers come to us and they add value to their clients because we're then talking to their clients every year as well and referring them back to the broker if they've got any lending needs. And it's the same in the wealth business. We've got to talk to them every year. So the broker's getting an extra touch point for no extra time for them. So we refer them back to the broker if there's any other lending needs. And if there's anything else that comes up in that conversation, we refer it back to the broker. So that gives the broker an extra opportunity to then do more lending for that client.
So Nick, it's interesting about insurance. I've seen in my own personal business and dealings, we had this really great guy hard worker, working 2 jobs, one in the mines and then one as a fitter and turner outside of the mines. Great bloke, bought half a dozen houses off us, was in the professional advice environment. And then had a diagnosis of prostate cancer. Within 2 weeks he had surgery and it was removed. And then within that whole period of time, he picked up $900,000 worth of trauma insurance payout, paid off his mortgage, improved his financial circumstances incredibly. And so paid off a lot of debt. And, it's going to save him like quite a lot of years of additional work. And
it's the interest payments that he's saving in there as well.
Yeah.
There's big savings.
And like when you go down the insurance path and you start to realize how likely claims are going to be, it becomes a bit of a no-brainer. So it's really an education piece for brokers to say, hey, look, you've heard about, because I remember when I came through the industry that all of these things were available to you, and they are. Most aggregators have some sort of tie-in somewhere. But like as a broker, or when you start out, and in my experience anyway, I was just like, how much can I write? I got to write more. But you're single focused. When you plug in these services, you will write more, but you won't be working as hard because there's going to be higher retention.
Yeah.
There's going to be less drop off, and your clients are now looking at you as more than just somebody to get them a home loan or an investment loan or a car loan. And I think that's the real future for where brokerages should go.
I agree, because I think as a broker, if you write a home loan and you make $5,000 on writing the home loan, you can make an extra couple of grand off insurance. If you refer them for an investment property, because that's what they're looking for, and refer them to a buyer's agent, was that another $5,000?
Yeah.
So all of a sudden you've more than doubled your income off the one client, but you haven't had to do any extra work. All you're doing is referring them on and then managing that referral to make sure it closes. And that's it.
And some of the best in the business have really nailed that, and that's how they've built their businesses. And then before you know it, you got your trail income, you got your insurance income, you got your referral fees from buyers agents and the rest of it. And then comes you can grow your team, and because you've got all these other revenue streams. More importantly, your clients coming back, they're going to be super happy, and then they're going to refer more clients to you. That's my personal experience. Nick.
I think you hit the nail on the head. Growing your team also means that you spend less time working. You can actually, instead of working 40 or 50 hours a week, you can pay someone to come in for 20 hours a week, and you can cut back a little bit. There's other things in life you want to be doing other than going to work.
Yeah.
So, I'm away quite a lot, but when I'm home, I've got school runs and pickups and all of that sort of stuff to do as well. Now, that stuff there is really important. So a couple of times a week, I'm leaving the office at, 2 o'clock. So doing that sort of stuff is also important, but I couldn't do that unless I grew the team to cover the work that also still needs to be done, and I don't have to do it on the weekend. Yeah,
understood. So bringing those extra revenue streams in, every single dollar helps when you're building a business. Tell me how, and for the brokers listening here, how you could explain the benefits of using a company like yours.
So we've got the full service financial planning model as well. So if people want personal advice around what they're getting, we can refer them into our personal advice model. Now, there's where the planner will sit them down and say, this is what I think you should have. Now, I can't do that. Mine's all client directed, but there's no fees. It's a really simple model, but it's exactly the same insurance as what you're going to get from the financial planner. The only difference between me and Steve, who's our planner, is he will tell you what he thinks you should have and then go through the trade-off process and that sort of stuff to look at what you can afford. So we've got both options covered off. If people really want to go through that financial advice model, they can. But we find that most clients come to us and they'll look at the quote. It's all about what they think that they can afford. And, we look at most of them pay out of super as well. Right? Yeah. So I can take payments from super as well, just like a planner. So they're paying out of super. So not all of it's out of pocket, but they don't want to be draining their super. So our average premium starts at $3,000. So you're sitting there and you're going, the client's got really great coverage, like $1 million of life, $1 million of TPD, maxing out their IP. For me, IP is the most important, especially when you've got a first home buyer that's emptied their bank account into their first home. What happens 6 months down the track if they can't go to work? So there's a lot of that comes into it. So there's specific types of clients where insurance is really, really important.
Okay, Nick, thanks for that. Just for the people who don't know, because a lot of people won't know exactly what IP is, do you want to just step back and walk people through what IP is?
So income protection.
Okay.
So you can take out a policy that will insure up to 70% of your income. Now, if you're on 100 grand, we can do a policy that'll pay you $70,000 all the way through to age 65 until you're going to retire. You can even attach some super to it as well. So that means that if you're unable to work long term, then you're still going to be able to earn an income from your insurance policy, which means you're going to be able to pay your bills, you're going to be able to pay your kids' school fees, your mortgage, you're going to be able to pay your car loans. All of that sort of stuff is still going to be covered.
Yeah.
And you're not going to be scratching around thinking, how am I going to pay my bills next month?
Yeah.
Which, stress, that takes the stress out of it.
Yeah, so in relation to Fuzion and how they work, let's like really drill down into the actual process. So broker is writing a loan, going through a fact find, asks the insurance question. Most brokers, and in my experience, being around the industry, don't spend a lot of time on that question. I think it's a really great question. The question I'm talking about is, do you believe you're adequately insured? Do you want to talk to somebody about insurance?
And that's something we're really trying to change. It's about talking to the brokers. And look, I travel around the country. I'm on the road 20 weeks a year, and I do a lot of events. In fact, Fuzion Group is the biggest organiser of independent events for brokers in the country with the amount of stuff that we organise. So we're going around talking to brokers all the time about how they can build it into their process. It's about having that conversation and knowing what insurance is on offer. And if someone says, it's fine, I've got it in my super fund. Well, the reality is they've probably got $250,000 worth of life cover that's going to go down year on year on year. Where's that going to leave them? So when they say, I've got it in my super, the follow-up question is, do you know how much you have? Or if they say, I've got existing insurance, when was the last time that was reviewed?
And so, Nick, are you saying that the broker should be having these questions, or that simply when the question comes up around insurance, the brokers should be saying, hey, look, guys, maybe have a chat to Fuzion here, or...
So if you're a client...
Because there's a bit of confusion. What I've found personally in the industry is a bit of confusion as to what can be said and what can't be said.
Correct.
And a lot of the times people shy away from these things because they think they can't say things. And so there's, in my experience, factually, without making any personal recommendations, you can highlight things factually, but not in a personal way.
It's yes and no. So if you're a client and I'm a broker, and we're sitting down doing a fact find, and I say, hey, Julian, do you think you're adequately insured? And you say, I think I've got it in my super fund. And I say, yeah, cool. Do you know how much you've got? Now, you might go, actually, I don't. Cool. Well, how about you grab your super statement? Let's have a look at it. And if you look at that and you don't think you've got enough, we can refer you to Fuzion and they can look at beefing up your insurance cover.
Okay.
Now, if the client says, I've already got existing insurance and they know who it's through, the follow-up question should be, when was the last time you had that reviewed?
Okay,
because that provides an opportunity then for the broker to then refer them to us for a free review. Now, that review might be, you've got great cover, you don't need to change anything. Or it might be, hang on a sec, this is what you're actually covered for. Did you understand what you've got? And a lot of the time, the client's taken out insurance years ago and doesn't even understand what they've currently got. So we might then go in and rejig the insurance to save them some money. Like, some people are overinsured. They've got a couple of $1 million worth of life cover, or they've got, a $400,000 trauma policy, and they don't want it. It's so expensive. So they consider cancelling the cover. Well, you don't need to cancel it. You just need to reduce the amount that you've actually got. Some cover's better than no cover. And if you're worried about what it's costing you, reduce your cover. And people in their 50s and 60s, they don't need as much cover.
Okay, great. So, Nick, so a couple of really good things that come up for me, there is that the brokers actually now creating a ring fence around their client as well.
Correct.
So what I've noticed since I left broking, and back in the day when I was a broker, 100 points of ID, a little fact find, a
3-page application form,
and
2 pay slips.
Credit notes were, please approve the loan. So that model of broker, I can't see how, with the amount of compliance and things like that, which is ultimately a good thing for the lending system in Australia, because we all want everybody, all the stakeholders, everybody in Australia wants a healthy and compliant lending environment, but it's becoming harder and harder to be that sort of one-man operator. And so what happens is, what we're seeing, what I'm seeing is, more and more groups coming up. So, you've got the planner, the accountant, the the mortgage broker, financial planner, and accountant, all in the one space.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so now, if your client goes out and seeks some accounting advice or changes accountants to the accountant that's in the same office as the mortgage broker and the financial planner, well, there's a real chance there that you're about to lose that client off your book.
Yeah.
And now, if that client goes and gets accounting there, and then they get insurance there, and then they come through to wealth, well, there's really not much, particularly if there's a broker in this office, there's really not much room. So those independent brokerages that aren't 100% aligned to accountants and financial planners, there's a real benefit here for them to lean in, grab this service, and then working with a company like yours, like really putting a ring fence around the client. The client now has their assets, most important assets, their home and their investment properties, but now they've got their life insured in the same place. Very unlikely for them to go out and seek other advice. So I can see there's a real benefit there.
So it's interesting that you bring that up. I was at a wealth PD day. So one of the things that the managing director of the dealer group said was, when people come to see you as a financial planner, they're not just there for financial planning. They expect you to look after far more than financial planning. They expect you to be able to look after their home loans. So you've got to have a relationship with a broker. Maybe some accounting, maybe some self-managed super, maybe wills and estate planning. So you've got to have a partnership with a lawyer. They don't just come and see you for financial planning. They come and see you to look after everything that goes with the financial planning. So you've got to have those partnerships in there. And it's really the same with a broker.
Yeah.
A broker's got to have a relationship with someone that can do some insurance, someone that can do some wealth, someone that can do, self-managed super, investment properties, buyer's agents. Because then when that client comes to you, you can push them out to other stuff. So they're not then going and looking on their own. And if they go and see a buyer's agent, well, they're probably going to use the buyer's agent's broker unless you referred them there, right?
Correct.
So there's where, if a client comes to us for insurance direct, like, we don't just talk to them about that. We talk to them about their home loans. We talk to them about their financial planning, all of that sort of stuff. We pick up the entire client. We don't just go, well, we want the insurance and we'll focus on that.
Yeah, and I think in my personal experience, as you grow and develop and your business grows and develops, you really, really lean on your accountants. It's far easier to change mortgage broker than it is to charge accountant or financial planner. And so once a financial planner or accountant's won your business and won your trust, as a business owner, it's very unlikely that they're going to move around. Whereas brokers, there's an explosion of brokers and there's an explosion of buyer's agents these days.
There's 19,000 brokers.
Yeah.
In the country at the moment.
Yeah.
So that's quite a lot. Now, not all of those brokers are writing a lot of business, but they're also, they're just managing a trail book maybe. So all of a sudden, it's really easy for a client to end up going to somewhere else using a different broker.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like, your book is diminishing. And so we've got a finance broking business as well. So we've got an AFG business and an LMG business. So we dual aggregate, one of the few in the country that do it. So how that suits us is we get a lot of business into our finance business from financial planners. We've got a lot of partnerships with financial planners that refer their clients to us. To do that, we don't need to refer out. We're there to look after the client. So we get that business come in, that ring fences their clients because they're not going anywhere else looking for services.
So, really good points there. I know, Nick, you and I have had a lot of chats about wealth, financial planning, wealth planning, holistic planning, and brokers. We've been a huge advocate for it in our personal property investment business. Obviously, my background is I have the financial planning qualifications. I built a financial planning business. That business still lives on, but it's been taken over by another business. So, for me, I see a lot of clients come in to see me in their 40s and they say, hey, look, we've been referred to you by XYZ. You've done some really great work. We want to do the same. We want you to do the same thing. And it's like, cool. So you're 40, you need to reduce your tax, because it's usually a pain point that that's what business is about, giving people solutions to their problems, They come in their 40s, we say, look, yeah, cool. We can go out and buy you a couple of houses in your own name. That's fine. But there's a bigger conversation to be had here. I think you should definitely sit down with one of our financial planning partners, and there's a lot going on here. You're obviously protecting your income because perhaps as a male, and it doesn't have to be a male these days because females are right up there, but protecting your income,
correct,
to make sure that your family doesn't incur lower quality of life if something happens to you. Then talking about tax, well, there's opportunities out there to make sure that you can tax effectively still grow your portfolio outside of your own name.
Yeah, and I think so. I spent 5 years working on the mines, and one of the things I always found interesting was all these guys on the mines would, go and buy a $400,000 or $500,000 investment property to save themselves $5,000 on tax. And when I sat down and actually showed them the numbers about what that property had to look like in 10 years' time for you just to make your money back, not taking into account inflation and everything else that goes with it. Like, there's actually not a lot of money in negatively gearing a property, right?
Yeah.
You've got to get really, really good growth up front.
Yeah.
And if you're not getting good growth up front, you're actually going backwards. You're literally throwing money away. You want to save $5,000 on tax? Like, don't go and buy an investment property. Like, you've got to get that $5,000 back. You've got to spend 5 or 10 to get $5,000 back. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me.
One of the things that we recommend for all of our clients is, look, before we go down the path of buying an asset and investing, we encourage you to get advice, whether that's definitely we're not talking to you about doing anything until you've spoken to a broker. If you're 40, age 40 and above, even in your late 30s, depending on what you're doing, we recommend, first of all, before we buy you anything, that you talk to one of our financial planning partners, just to make sure that the things that we've spoken about, like insurances and super and all those things, have been ticked off. Because we're in the business of creating wealth via accumulation of assets. The guys like the insurance guys and the financial planners, well, they're in the business of making sure that the assets are structured correctly to actually do what they're supposed to do in the time of need that you're going to call on them. If you can't call on a property or anything in a time of need that you've invested in it, it's no longer an asset, it's a liability.
And this is where I always advocate a mix of investments in super and in your own name. Don't pile everything in your own name and neglect your super. Don't pile everything into super and neglect the tax benefits in your own name. So you've got to have a good mix. And I'm seeing more and more clients come in with self-managed super funds, more and more of them. So, the growth in self-managed super funds has been massive over the last 5 years. With more people buying properties in self-managed super, there's a lot more lenders that have come on board. If you've got a legacy product, you're probably paying 10%. You should be reviewing that. Funny enough, we've got a client that's got an old legacy product in his self-managed super. He's paying 10%. Now, we've offered him a rate of 7%. Just get us these documents, mate, and we can reduce your rate. We'll write you a new loan and we'll give you a 7% rate. Now, it's $1 million loan. It's going to save him $30,000 a year.
Yeah, great. Perfect.
But we've been chasing him for a year.
Yeah.
The problem there is it's not coming out of his own pocket.
Yeah.
So it's out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah. Which is also, that's a negative example, but there's a positive example. I mean, with the cost of living pressures at the moment, putting so much pressure on the household budget, we all have a finite time of how long we're working for. And just because interest rates are up and the household budget's there under pressure, people may think that that's going to set them back from their property investment goals or their wealth creation goals. Good brokers and people that know a good handle on the industry can say, look, don't put your property investment goals on hold, because there's other opportunities. And, a lot of the times when we refer to our financial planning partners who are experts and are qualified to give the advice that's required, is that people don't realize how much money they're actually spending in their super funds beyond the administration fees that are easily documented on their statement. So once a super fund statement gets pulled apart and people find out if they've got a balance of $500,000, they're paying, anywhere from $12,000 to $25,000 worth of fees. The light bulbs start to go off. But more importantly, and back to the point, is that there's a real opportunity. Yes, interest rates are high, but your super guarantee contributions have gone up.
Correct.
In fact, they've been climbing significantly, and your super is not something you can buy groceries with in a standard time or pay school fees and the rest of it. But it is a really good place for you to consider, with the right advice and the qualified people, to sort of expand out, use the same philosophy, which is leverage and a loan, to build your asset base and get some access to real estate investments.
It's such a tax effective environment putting money into super.
Yeah.
But you can't put all your eggs in one basket, which is why I always say, inside and outside of super, get yourself a good mix, which is where quality advice, not just with a financial planner, but with a great accountant, is really important as well.
Yeah.
Because you need both sides of it.
Yeah.
You can't just, and property is great, but people also, diversify into some shares as well.
Yeah.
Keep a bit of diversity in there, because like you were saying earlier, you need to be able to sell stuff at a certain time, and you need fast access to cash.
Yeah.
If you've got shares, you can sell them and have the money in 3 days.
Absolutely. So yeah, that plays out on a daily basis with the people and our partners that we work with. As you know, holistic advice doesn't mean bet it all on black. It does mean a little bit exposure to the right asset classes. So Nick, just on that, what we might do now is we might have a chat about Fuzion events, and that's how you and I began to work together, and a meeting of the minds, as some people would call it. So just take us through exactly what Fuzion Events does, and how brokers can benefit from attending these events.
So go back to 2021. We started running some lender sessions. Now we get 8 to 12 lenders involved and about 150 brokers. So the lenders now get a 15-minute presentation to talk to the brokers about what their lender actually offers. So if you've got 12 lenders and you've got a half a day session, what we dot through that is, a broker's core business is writing home loans. So you've got to have the home loan lenders there. But you also need to add value in it. So this is where Fuzion in Insurance will talk about risk insurance. We brought you on to talk about property investment in the latter half of the year. So we do 5 events. So Sydney, Brisbane, Melbourne, Adelaide and Perth. We do that twice a year. We get 150 brokers to pretty much each session.
Yeah.
But we started running some more webinars and that sort of stuff this year as well. So we now run a lot of events around the country for brokers to come along. Now those events give brokers CPD points, but they also get, they get to catch up with a lot of their peers as well, a lot of other brokers. But they also get, in one day, 8 lenders, where you're getting updates from 8 lenders, and you do it all in a condensed session, have some lunch, and then you're off.
Yeah, great. And so how did that come about, Nick? Tell us about, obviously you've had an interesting career, and a lot of mortgage brokers out there, there's obviously the bank to broker way into the industry. But just tell us how Fuzion Events came about.
So we knew that we had to find a way to get in front of more brokers. Now, these lender sessions have been running in Perth for a while, but it got to the point where the lenders weren't running them. So I stepped in and started and took over running them, and I ran one in Perth in the first half of 2021. In the second half of 2021, I actually went, I can actually run this around the country. So I did it in Brisbane as well. The following year, in 2022, we actually took it around the country. Now, it's now turned into a massive roadshow where we go around twice a year. All the lenders are involved. We try to change up the lenders as well. But that's how it started. Like, we went from 1 session to 2, and we've now got a database of probably 5,000 brokers that have attended these sessions over the last few years. But then we've also got 400 referral partners in the business out of that as well. And, we're taking on, 100 to 200 referral partners a year at the moment.
Fantastic.
So all of a sudden, what it's done for the business and how it's helped it grow has been pretty dramatic. But the sessions are very successful. The lenders want to be involved. They're cheap. They're $600-700 a session.
Jam-packed full of value.
Absolutely. So, but the value for the lender is in getting the list. So if they go to a PD day, for an aggregator. They don't get the list of the brokers that register. Here they pay their money, we give them the list so that they can then contact the brokers that attended the session.
Yeah.
And actually then arrange to go and see them, deliver more value to those brokers as well. So the value is there for the lenders, the value is there for the brokers. And everyone says to me, like, is there value there for you? Absolutely. Like, look at what it's done to my business. We will continue to run as many of these events into the future as what we possibly can.
Yeah, look, what I really like about the events, Nick, and thanks for that. What I really like about the events is it's an opportunity for me to meet my market face to face.
Yeah.
There's at the moment, as I've mentioned previously, it's a really busy marketplace. It's quite crowded and it's very noisy. What I find is if somebody's going to come out and have lunch with us and listen to those types of things, it really gives us an opportunity to give that human touch to our business. And we love Fuzion events for what they stand for, and how great it's been working with you guys. It's super professional, and we've made some really, really good contacts with brokers. I'm looking forward to the next year and obviously the long-term partnership with us. But yeah, there's just no substitute I believe in my business for that human touch and that face-to-face meeting of the market that we do with the brokers.
Yeah, and the sessions are, from the lenders or presenters' point of view, invitation only. So we get contacted by many groups going, hey, we know you're running these sessions. Can we, come and present? And not everyone, sort of fits the mold of what we're doing.
Sure.
They
sure.
think they do.
Yeah.
And they want to present because all they want to do is get in front of brokers.
Yeah.
Right. They want to pay their money. They want to get in front of brokers. They want to get the list. But it's got to meet our objective of educating brokers, helping them diversify their business and their revenue streams, and provide some education to the brokers.
Yeah, really.
If it doesn't meet, if the people coming in don't meet that criteria, we're not going to have them, because it's really, really important that we maintain the integrity of the event. And it's about the brokers.
Yeah, I've never met a broker that's not busy in all the many years I've been working. So there's no point inviting them out there and not giving them all that value.
Absolutely.
And I think that's a testament to the success of the events business that you run, because it just, in my experience, it just keeps on growing and getting better and better, and all the time. So yeah, that's fantastic. And I think that brokers should definitely, if they haven't attended, definitely check out Fuzion events and look out for Nick. And his business,
yeah. And I think the final thing I'd say is that the events that we run are not for profit, so we don't make money out of running the events.
Sure,
I make my money out of the business that I get from the brokers that
Very
come.
important.
So we don't actually make profit from running the events. We break even at best. But I make my money out of the business that I get from doing the follow-up work, contacting the brokers, getting the referrals. That's how I make my value.
Okay, Nick. So some insurance is better than no insurance?
Absolutely. So some insurance is better than no insurance. So if you can't afford a full suite of products, obviously get what you can. Your financial circumstances might change later down the track where you can take on a little bit more insurance. But also, people say insurance is a grudge purchase, right? No one really wants to pay for insurance.
Well, possibly, yeah.
But here's the thing.
It's education that's missing in that statement.
Buying life insurance is actually more of a purchase of love, because you're looking after your family. If anything happens to you, you are looking after your family. So that means it's more of a purchase that you make out of love for your family than out of a grudge purchase.
Would you say it's as easy as working through your fact find, when the question comes up, do you feel you're adequately insured, and things along those lines? It's simply, hey guys, at this point in time, I really feel like it's a great time for you guys to have a chat to Fuzion Insurance.
Absolutely.
As simple as that?
It is as simple as that, because, and you can ask a couple of questions to really engage with the client around, if they say they've got it in their super, ask them how much they've got. And if they don't know, all of a sudden the client's going to start to think. If they've got existing insurance, ask them when it was last reviewed, and say that we'll do the review and we'll review it for free. So all of a sudden you've got these touch points, and you're actually just adding some value for the client.
Yeah.
You're adding value to the relationship by saying, I've got someone that can review your insurance for free. Would you like to take me up on the offer?
Yeah. What I really like about it, and in my experience when I first got started, I was just so focused on, let's just get this loan approved and the rest of it. But what I think brokers should really be comfortable with is the insurance part is not a hard sell. it actually changes people's lives. The amount of people that claim on different insurance types, obviously, there's the big ones, but the lesser known ones that people claim on, and it changes their lives. Like, you should never, in my experience of being through as a broker, then as a financial planner, insurance really changes somebody's life when they need it. It's a significant change of life and a life event. And having that done, or skipping over that because you feel like you're annoying the client, or it's a grudge purchase, it's a huge place that education needs to come in. Because I really feel like when I've seen my clients and the clients that we've referred off get paid $900,000, $1 million for things like minor heart attack, prostate cancer, melanomas, all these other types of things that have happened. It's been pretty incredible.
So here's the really important thing about that. Insurance is about getting the right amount of money to the right person at the right time.
Yeah.
That's what insurance is about.
Yeah. And sure, there's a benefit from it, like financially, but you're selling somebody a 30-year home loan, or maybe less, or the rest of it. So 30-year mortgage. We all know what mortgage means in Latin. So there's a real, people. I guess my message is brokers should never feel like they're creating an extra expense or putting a client out by referring insurance. It's so different. In my experience, there's nothing better than having a conversation with your client at the darkest moment. Hey, I've just been diagnosed with this or that. And mostly, we're living longer, and a lot of these things, the treatments are around. Getting a check for $1 million or more or less, even as much as $500,000 is just something else. And when you share that with your client, the highs and the lows, it's really quite a special moment in time.
I think the problem with brokers and insurance is there's a lot of them that don't want to talk about it. And the reason they don't want to talk about it is they're too scared that if they start to talk about this other stuff, the client came to them for a home loan. And if they start to talk about all this other stuff and make the client uncomfortable, the client's going to go see another broker. Highly unlikely. The client's going to appreciate having an uncomfortable conversation about the insurance that they have or don't have. But they're not going to go and see another broker over that.
Yeah. And the thing I really like about your events, Nick, and the position that you stand in for brokers and in these events is that you actually provide that education. Hey, you're asking this question, but are you really doing this correctly? So that's what I really liked about working with you, is like your stand for how important insurance is and the education piece. And so for brokers that are like on the edge and they don't understand, I encourage them to get along to a Fuzion event where they can get the education from yourself and other people in the industry. But most importantly, I think it's very important that brokers do get out there and get educated, not only by the financial benefits for them, but how it has such a tangible influence on building their business and really, really tightening up that relationship between the broker and the client in a particularly noisy and crowded and competitive marketplace.
So I think one of the things that I talk to brokers about a lot is don't just gloss over the question. Actually ask the question and have the conversation. Don't just gloss over it, because glossing over it, isn't going to benefit the client. Have that conversation. And you know what? If you're having that conversation with them about insurance and you can get through that, you can then probably have the conversation with them about, are they looking to buy investment properties? Are they looking for a buyer's agent? There's plenty of questions that you should be asking your client. Yeah. Don't gloss over it. Don't just think that they've come to you for a home loan. They've come to you for a conversation around their financial well-being and their financial future. And it's not just about rate. And a home loan. There's a lot of other things that fall into that as well.
Yeah, cool. And so your advice would be like, keep it simple and just refer out and let us do all the talking, and because we're the experienced and qualified people to provide the advice?
So my thinking is, look, we've got, inside our dealer group, we've got a handful of mortgage brokers that also try to write insurance. The problem I find with that is you can't be a specialist in a home loan environment and a specialist in the insurance environment. You can't do both. So focus on what your core business is and what you're really good at, and refer out for the other stuff.
Perfect.
So insurance, refer out. Refer to an expert that knows the market and is doing it all the time. So, we often say in my office, Scott, my broker for the AFG business, I say to people, he will write a better home loan than I ever will because he does it day in and day out. But ask him to write a private lending deal and he's not going to be able to do it because that's what I do day in and day out.
Yeah.
So stick to your strengths. Your strength isn't insurance, your strength is the home loan. So refer out for the insurance, let us look after it, and let us pay you for the privilege of looking after your client.
Fantastic. Really such a win-win relationship, a great point. So Nick, I might just turn this over to you now to tell that you got this opportunity on camera to tell the world how fantastic Julian Fedini and Property 360 is. Don't hold back, there's never too much, so away you go.
So I first met Julian at National Finance Brokers Day this year. He grabbed me, did a video, and I remember him just saying, no, mate, just talk to me over here. Yeah. Drags me over, we have a bit of a chat, and we've been talking ever since. We got talking about your business. I've never been comfortable dealing with buyer's agents because I feel that how they pay commissions and the amount that they pay creates a conflict of interest because the client is the one that should be getting looked after. I've seen the results of what you've produced for your clients. Now, those results are fantastic. The one winner out of all of that is the client.
Yeah, 100%.
You're very much like me. You run a client-focused business. You're not looking after yourself. You're not looking after the broker. You're looking after the client. And by doing that, the other two get looked after as well.
Yeah.
But your primary focus is looking after the client.
Yeah.
So our businesses sit really well together in that because we're very much a client-focused business.
Yeah.
And from that, mate, we've got a long partnership out of us.
Yeah, I feel very welcomed within the Fuzion group. You and I have had some really good chats about our businesses and how they complement each other. So yeah, likewise, I'm really looking forward to a big future with the Fuzion.
Yeah, and I think that what we've got planned is going to provide a lot of extra value for brokers. So watch this space.
Yeah,
there's a lot of stuff coming.
So Nick, mate, thanks for coming today. Always a pleasure. I enjoy spending time with you. Just for the benefit of the people in our audience, just let us know how people can get in touch and where to find you.
So you can go to our website and you can come through that. You're able to contact me directly via email. And I'm probably one of the few. I've got one phone number. I've got one phone. If you call me, it's my personal phone number as well. So you're going to be able to call me on the phone, get hold of me via email, come through our website, or come to one of our events.
Yeah,
come to one of our events.
Come to an event. Yeah,
and see what we deliver.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you very much, Nick. Really appreciate it.